Hello and welcome. Now it is currently 2020 and for the whole year I'm embarking on a no buy / low buy, which is quite a daunting thing to think about, and I wanted to share with you the 4 main areas I've been thinking about considering to set myself up and get myself ready to do this no buy and how I'm going to do it. Now, they're nothing groundbreaking, and so if you do have anything you'd like to share in the comments below, any tips or tricks or things that you're doing yourself to give yourself structure and support throughout the challenge, it'd be really lovely if you feel comfortable to share that. And even if you just want to say how your day's going, that's also good. But yeah, I would really love to hear from other people because I'm not an expert. These are just kind of the things that I'm doing, and I'm sure people have much better ideas and solutions than I do. So anyway, the 4 areas that we're going to talk about is why, sort of rules and guidelines. It's so hot, I can't even think right now. Rules and guidelines, tracking and sort of like motivation, and also inventory. So they're the 4 points that I'm going to talk to. I mean, you could just take those points and run with it and you don't need to watch the rest of the video because they're somewhat self-explanatory. But yeah, I'm going to unpack them from my understanding and hopefully it's helpful in some way. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you do anything basically in life, and I'm sure you've had it before, but is establish your why and your reason for doing it, because it is kind of a challenge. It's something you're taking on, so you need to figure out what that motivation is. With a no buy, you're lucky because there is so many different reasons to do it. You know, you could be doing it for financial reasons, you could be doing it because you want to be more minimal, or look at more like being more sustainable with your consumption. You may want to look at and address maybe your spending habits and what motivates you to spend. Are you an emotional spender? Is there sort of like this sort of lackluster or something missing in your life, so you feel like you can find it in things, or you feel like there's a lackluster feeling in yourself where you don't feel like you're valued enough, so you look for items to define your self-value. So there's lots of different ways to look at it, and what's interesting with a no buy is that no matter what angle you're kind of coming from, you will reap the benefits of the other angles as well, because when you do stop consuming, it sort of does get you to somewhat address those things a little bit. You know, if you're looking at it because you want to be more minimal and sustainable, you will ultimately still save money, and you will ultimately still experience sort of those, like, addressing what are the emotions or what is the things that encourages you to spend money or encourages you to buy. So that's the first one. Why do you want to do it? The second is obviously to work with your rules and guidelines. Now these are very specific to you and your personal circumstances, and I've created some that are going to be based off also what is my motivation for doing my no buy. So mine's around sustainability and trying to be more minimal. So my rules are all kind of in regards to that. Now there's going to be some very clear things that you're going to do when looking at your rules, and this is sort of the way I approached it. Is I broke things down quickly into 2 categories, and then there was everything in between. So the first thing is your necessities, like that's going to be somewhere to live, food to eat, bills or gas or transport of some kind, and that's going to be quite clear, sort of what are the things you really need to survive. Then there's going to be the things that are your no buys. Now I would suggest looking into maybe different categories that you feel like are problem areas for yourself. So for example, I'm like quite an arts type person, so I will have like lots of craft things, and so clearly I don't want to buy craft items. Or you might be into makeup or clothing or whatever, so those things are very clear, like you want to take some time to not purchase those items, and yeah, try and define what the no buys are. I find that's kind of a little bit easier sometimes. So necessities, no buys, and then you're kind of stuck with the things that could potentially be low buys or just need to be put into one or the other area and need to be defined more clearly. And this is kind of the gray area. This is where it gets a bit trickier, and you might not be able to define that all straight away, and it's sort of more like over time that will get solidified as you continue on with your challenge. It will become a bit clearer where you want to challenge yourself and where you want to have a little bit more leniency. You might be someone where it's easy to go, you know, I'm going to have 1 meal out with a friend a week, but me for myself, having a number doesn't quite work, so I have to go, I'm going to have less of it. It's going to be a low buy than maybe what my normal might be, but yeah, you have to work with that in a sense that is right for you, and be very careful when creating your rules and guidelines that you don't put yourself to a place where you don't give yourself any leniency or any happiness, because when you create rules that are so strict, you then often end up breaking them a lot, and then you end up being upset and feeling guilty because you've broken your no buy, and then that doesn't really aid in you progressing any further. So it's like really try and focus on progress rather than your setbacks, and to create an environment where progress is really what you're aiming for. Within the rules, you're also going to want to look at maybe what a few exceptions. So for me, I wrote like extreme weather circumstances. If something breaks and I can't substitute it, replace it, or anything like that. So there's a few different things around my exceptions. And then I also, because I'm wanting to do this from a sustainability point of view, I wrote that if I do purchase something, I want it to be secondhand, low waste, as sustainable possible that I can get my hands on within the price range that I'm willing to also pay. So that is kind of what I did for my rules, and yeah, it's sort of the tricky one. But yeah, if you can't get it all worked out straight away, don't stress, because for me, I definitely have been defining it more as I go along. You may be someone who has no problem, so then don't worry as well. So the next area we're going to look at is tracking and sort of like the motivator. So I think it is really good to track this experience, because it shows really clearly like where you're succeeding and where there's a few more things that you need to work a little bit harder on. And you might have a calendar that you can tick off the days as you go along that you really succeed at your no buy. You may have a bullet journal, a diary that you want to do that in, but I really would recommend a place where you can like tick off or color in, or just be like, yes, today I really followed my rules of my no buy and I was really successful. Another thing I think is really important is to like have it visible. So you might have a bullet journal. For me, I put most things in my bullet journal and I use it every day, so it's quite a visible thing for me. But if that's not the case for you, maybe printing stuff off and putting it on the wall or on the fridge. So I would suggest having a tracking system so you can tick off the days you do really succeed at your no buy. And then I would recommend having your rules very clearly outlined for yourself. Now, this is like an example of what you could do. It's also possibly something you could use, because one of my lovely subscribers, I believe the name is Ebba, it's E-B-B-A, but I don't know how to pronounce names very well, so I'm so sorry if I said that wrong, contacted me because she created like a spreadsheet for herself, and she thought it might be useful, that other people would be interested in it, and so she's given me the permission and also given me the link, so it just goes straight to her website, because she's someone who creates her own printable planners. So it's a free link, you just go to the website and you can print this off yourself. But basically it is a spreadsheet with all the rules and sort of like exceptions and yeah, things like that that are based off sort of what I said. Now she's also left space for you to personalize it a little bit, so these are like the no buy things, but then there might be a few things that you specifically want to put in there yourself, or like your low buys and what are definitely the necessities. And there's also a space to like put your why, like why do you want to do this. And that's really cute because it's got some little sustainable low impact swap options at the bottom as well. So this is a really lovely thing. I'm so glad that she was willing to share it, and either you can use it as it is and you can customize this specific one, you can use it as inspiration to create your own in some way. But I think this is a really good idea. I'm going to have this up on my wall as well, so you can just very easily see it, and it reminds you, it keeps you motivated, and it's right there in front of your face. So this is really lovely. It'll be in the description box if you want to check it out. And thank you so much for the creating of it and emailing me and being in contact. I really love that. That's why I do this. I love the online community. I like people just contacting each other and talking about these things, that it makes me so happy. So that's one thing to do. Have your rules and also have some form of like tracking or ticking off system so you can see how you're going. Now this is my bullet journal. I have a few things in here that I'll quickly show you that I've personally done that may be useful for you or may not. So the first thing, because I am focusing on minimalism and what I'm bringing into my life in this, I've created a running list of all the things that I bring into my life. So I've got the date, the price, what the item is, and if I got it new or second hand. And if I got it a hand-me-down, I've written the person's name who gave it to me. So that's just one way to really see for myself at the end of the year all the things that I have brought into my life that are physical items. And I'm kind of doing this because I have been doing minimalism for a while, and I am trying to like just be very clear about that. I don't know if that's useful for everyone, and also if that's a bit too obsessive for some people, I also understand. You have to determine what's going to be comfortable for you. I also have a page where it's literally basically this. I've just written it in my bullet journal for myself. And then I have another page, and this is how I'm tracking. So I'm tracking a few different habits, but one of them is the no buy. So that's the blue here. And so every day I succeed at my no buy, I put a little dot. So we're in January, and clearly there's a few areas that I need to improve on, and we'll probably talk about that in my January update. And then another thing I've always done but is really serving me through the no buy, and just serves me in general, and I love it. And I think if you want to save money and you want to be conscious about what you're spending and what you're consuming, it's a useful thing to do. But I have just this one page that is a spending tracker. So I just write down literally every single thing I spend money on, and then I've color coordinated. So blue is things that are somewhat in relationship to my no buy. Either they're breaking it or they're just very closely related because they're things, not experiences. And then the red is like meals out with friends, and then the yellow is like gas or business expense. So I can very easily look at this and be like, well, even though meals out with friends is in my low buy, I think I'm doing it definitely more than I really want to be doing it, and it's not really special anymore because I've done it so much in the last few weeks that it's lost its like excitement about it. You know, when you do something all the time, it's not interesting anymore. So I can really easily look at this and hold myself accountable. And also it helps, so like if you're looking at the month and you're like, okay, how come there's so many days where I haven't really succeeded at my no buy, or what am I doing? So you can look back and define that. You know, I think if you're doing a no buy for a month, it might be easy just to be like, okay, I'm not buying anything, and it's much easier to stick to. But I think if you're setting yourself up for a year, you gotta have it's gotta be a little bit more relaxed, and you gotta sort of find your way into it, or at least that's what I'm experiencing so far. So tracking. Last but not least is inventory. Okay, I'm really sorry, but it's so hot here in Australia. I don't know if you can see sweat just dripping off me. So tracking, no, not tracking, we just did tracking. Inventory. So this is where you want to go through and you want to look at maybe specific problem areas, and you want to create an inventory so you know what you have. So you might want to take photos on your phone, and then that's actually a really good thing, because when you're out and about and you are tempted to go into Sephora or look at one of these stores, you could actually open your phone and actively look at the pictures where you have loads of clothes or loads of makeup. You might want to itemize a list and write things down and count how much you have of things. I would be careful there, because I know that counting things can be like counting calories, and it can be a little bit heading in that extreme way. So if you do have a bit of an extreme personality, I usually tend to stay away from counting stuff personally. So yeah, I would really suggest that. And you might not want to do obviously everything you own, because that could be a little bit much, but you might want to look at specifically makeup or cosmetics or clothing, or you might have someone who has lots and lots of bed linen, I don't know. But you can look at those specific areas and inventory those areas, and this will help you to keep yourself motivated, because like you're not going to want to go to a shop and buy another t-shirt if you know you already have 23 t-shirts in your closet, for example. So it's just like a good little way to, yeah, inventory, and you can take pictures, you can lie it all out nicely, whatever you want to do, but find a way to, yeah, do that and keep track of the things. And then in a part of that, especially if it is cosmetics or something that you're trying to use up, sort of quarantine the things that you want to use up and put away the things that you don't mind holding on to for a little bit longer. So for me, I've done that with toiletries. I have like these 2 containers I store all my toiletries in. So these ones I don't mind holding on for a while, and then these ones I'm trying to use up because like my sunscreen's going to expire, and I've had these oils for a while, and I have a more sustainable body lotion that I want to use once these have been used up, etc, etc. So I just put them aside, and then I put the things that I like that I don't need to use up because they're not going to expire soon or whatever reason, I kind of like put them away. I usually put my things in this little cosmetic bag, so I have like extra lipsticks that I haven't used because I'm forcing myself to use this one lip gloss up first and things like that. And you could do that with clothing or whatever area you want to. Also maybe with food, you could like put a little section, be like, this food I want to try and get through in the next month because it's going to expire. And I think that's a really useful way, especially if you're wanting to look at this at a more sustainable or minimalistic way, is to, yeah, use what you already have. I think it scares me when I see how many decluttering videos there are and how much stuff people get rid of, instead of like using it or repurposing it and trying to work with what they already have. Or like if you want to be more sustainable, you go out and buy sustainable brands and products, but like you should have just used what was already in your house first, that kind of mentality. Anyway, I hope these were helpful for you in some way. and the sort of the way that I've been approaching my no buy. Please, if you feel comfortable, like I said before, share with me where you're at, how you're going in the comments below. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.